George Orwell's 1984 came out decades ago, but man, does its chilling vision of the future feel more relevant than ever. It's so much more than just a story, right? It's this profound warning about power and truth and control that honestly still echoes through our world today. So let's dive into this classic dystopian novel and figure out what makes its warning so incredibly timeless.
So let's start with this. Really think about this question for a second, because it is at the absolute heart of 1984. What if truth wasn't, well, true? Imagine a world where reality is just whatever someone in power says it is. A world where 2 plus 2 could actually equal 5, just because they declared it so. That's the world Orwell drops us into.
Okay, so welcome to Oceania. This is one of 3 massive totalitarian superstates that basically rule the entire globe. And it is bleak. It's an oppressive society, completely run by one single political group, known only as the Party.
And life under the Party? Well, it's all about total control. At the top, you've got this mysterious, always-watching figure named Big Brother. His face is literally everywhere. Everyone is monitored, like 24/7 through these things called telescreens. And get this, they don't just blast propaganda at you, they're also watching your every single move. The past? It's not set in stone. History is constantly being rewritten to match whatever the party needs it to be that day. In a world like this, personal freedom, well, it just doesn't exist.
So, who's our guide through this nightmare? We meet a guy named Winston Smith. And here's the crazy irony of the whole thing. His job, Winston works at a place called the Ministry of Truth. And what does he do? He literally rewrites history. He spends his days destroying old records and creating new ones, all to make sure the past perfectly lines up with whatever the party is saying now. And because of that, he, more than anyone, knows just how deep the lies go.
But see, the party isn't just satisfied with controlling what people do or say. Oh no, their ambition goes way beyond that. Their ultimate goal is to control the one last place you'd think is safe, your own mind.
And this is where we get the concept of thought crime. In Oceania, you don't even have to do anything to be a criminal. Just thinking a rebellious thought, or even just having a doubt about the party, is a crime punishable by death. Think about that. Your own consciousness could be a crime scene.
So how on earth do you stop people from even forming a rebellious thought in the first place? Well, you control their language. The party has an official language called Newspeak, and its entire purpose is to get smaller every year. By getting rid of words like freedom, the party's goal is to make the actual concept of freedom literally unthinkable. After all, if you don't have a word for something, how can you even think about it? And this brings us to one of the book's most famous and kind of mind-bending ideas: doublethink. It's basically the mental gymnastics you need to do just to survive. It's the power to hold 2 completely contradictory beliefs in your mind at the same time and accept both of them. To know that war is peace makes no sense, but to believe it's true. It is the ultimate tool for controlling a mind.
But even with all this overwhelming control, there's still a little flicker of humanity left in Winston, and he commits his first real act of rebellion, his first real thought crime. He gets his hands on a secret diary and starts writing down what he actually thinks and feels. It's such a small act of defiance, but it's one that puts him on a direct collision course with the party.
So Winston's rebellion starts out as a solo mission, but it doesn't stay that way for long. He's about to find an accomplice, and his journey is going to take a new and even more dangerous turn. And that's when he meets Julia. Now, they both absolutely hate the party, but they're coming at it from totally different angles. Winston, he's the ideological rebel. He's all about truth and wants to see the whole system burn. Julia, her rebellion is way more personal. She just wants to break the rules so she can have some fun and actually feel alive from a change.
And so their secret love affair becomes this little private world just for them. In a society that has basically outlawed love and loyalty and intimacy, just being together is the ultimate act of rebellion. It's like this small, beautiful pocket of humanity they've carved out in a world built on pure oppression.
But soon, Winston and Julia start to hope for something bigger than just themselves. Their eyes are on this guy named O'Brien. He's a high-ranking official and inter-party member, but Winston is convinced. He's convinced O'Brien is secretly part of the resistance. To them, O'Brien looks like their one and only ticket to a real revolution. But all that hope, it's about to be taken apart piece by painful piece. because their journey doesn't lead to a revolution. It leads them to the single most feared place in all of Oceania, the Ministry of Love.
And it was all a lie, a trap. O'Brien was never on their side. He was a loyal, absolutely ruthless party agent. He'd been watching Winston for years, setting this whole thing up, and orchestrating his downfall from the very start.
So, inside the Ministry of Love, Winston goes through this chillingly systematic process they call re-education. See, the party's goal isn't just to punish him, it's to completely break his mind and then rebuild it in their own image. And they do this through brutal interrogation, psychological torture, and it all leads to the final step, the infamous Room 101.
Here's the thing about Room 101. It's different for everyone. It contains your single greatest fear, whatever that may be, tailored just for you. For Winston, that fear is rats. And when he's faced with that absolute, ultimate horror, his spirit, it just shatters. He screams, begging them to do it to Julia instead. And in that one moment, he betrays the only person he loves, the last piece of himself he thought they could never, ever take.
So, Winston's tragic ending, it's not just the end of a story. It's really the core message of the entire novel. It's Orwell's powerful, enduring warning about just how fragile our own spirit can be when it's up against absolute, total power.
And this final line of the book, it just says it all. After they've broken him and let him go, Winston is just an empty shell. His mind is completely rewired. He doesn't hate the party anymore. He loves it. The state has won. Total victory.
So, what's the big takeaway here? 1984 is this huge, flashing warning sign about the dangers of absolute, unchecked power. It's about how constant surveillance can just stamp out any disagreement, how twisting the truth can literally control what people think, and maybe most importantly, just how fragile our own sense of self can be when a system is designed to crush it.
And that leaves us with one last, pretty urgent question. I mean, Orwell wrote this as a warning over 75 years ago. But today, in an age of mass surveillance and things like alternative facts, his vision feels a lot less like science fiction and a lot more like a real-world warning. So the question for us is, how do we protect the truth and our own freedom to think for ourselves? How do we make sure that 2 + 2 always, always equals 4?